So we are continuing our videos on the Riemann integral. This is the fourth video. And what we're going to do is something very similar to what we did in the previous video, except we're taking our function now and we're not insisting that it be greater than or equal to 0. So now we're allowing our function to be negative. And we can still do the same process that we did in the last video. We can take our interval AB, chop it up into pieces, pick our representative point from each interval, and I've done that with two of them. So I've picked an x sub 1 star and an x sub 2 star. We can still look at the function values. The x1 star, f of x1 star, the x sub 2 star, f of x sub 2 star, we can still look at that. And we can do that for all of these. We can pick a representative point, calculate its function value, and we can calculate the length of each subinterval and call that delta sub I. So we can still do this process. We still have the delta I for each I. We have our representative point, our x sub I star. We can calculate the function value multiplied by the length of the interval. What we cannot do, however, is call this area, because some of these values can be negative. And so we can still calculate this sum. We just can't call it an area anymore. But mathematically, we can still do this. We can also still consider whether or not the limit exists. We can take the limit as the length of our partition goes to 0 and look at this and say, does that limit exist? And that's what brings us to the definition of integral. If this limit exists, then f is said to be integrable on the interval AB. And the integral is that limit. So if this limit exists, it's called the integral of f on AB. And we give it this notation. This looks like an elongated S. With the a down here, this is called our lower limit of integration, and our b is called our upper limit of integration. But these are the endpoints of our interval, AB. And this is just notation for this limit. So this is what an integral is. And so what we're going to be doing in the remaining videos is deciding whether or not this limit exists, and if it does, it's this integral. And in the following videos, we'll talk a little bit more about strategy on our partition and how to choose these endpoints to make this calculation easier.